market measure talking about Skew, sponsored by our friends at the SIBO.
Yes. So this is a good one. This is kind of a follow-up on, we've been really talking about a lot about Skew this week. And so this is kind of a parlay on that. So Skew drops in high IV. So why do losses grow?
So why do losses grow? Well, we're talking about being short volatility, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so you have an existing position and Skew drops in a high implied volatility. Your out of the money call is going to come in significantly. Are you talking about SPY here? Or are you talking about equities?
We're going to look at a number of different things.
All right. Well, it's going to be different-ish in each one of those. I mean, if you get it in SPY, you're going to need an up move.
Yeah.
In equities, you're going to need a down move for this to happen.
Well, let's take a look. So Skew measures how lopsided a distribution is compared to the normal symmetric curve. So normal distributions are equal on both sides. The Skew will skew to one side, and we'll give you a visual for that. And so you'll see with a lot of equities, specifically like an equity index like SPY or Qs, individual stocks can vary, but with an index, you're going to see a negative skew, a negative tail risk priced into the options. The options that are 100 points wide in SPY on the downside are going to still have value, whereas on the upside, they probably are very, very, nickel options, cheap options.
Sure.
That is negative skew. It's the cost for protection is usually more expensive than the upside speculation for the same amount of movement. So how does the P&L skew of an early managed 16 delta SPY strangle change as implied volatility and delta shift? So we're going to look at basically volatility regimes. So we're going to see what happens when volatility is low versus high, because that's really when you're selling premium when volatility is super high, the negative skew is still there. The tail risk is still there, but that tail risk just inflates. And so you're going to see that in the numbers here. So first, we're going to look at just skew. So skew can generally be positive, negative, or zero. The most common time you see no skew is in something like an earnings event. Earnings can be different skew. So like a Tesla, for example, will typically have positive call skew. Into earnings, you might not see that skew. It might be pretty flat there. You can have negative skew too.
Right, and it'll quickly change right after earnings. What is this saying? During earnings, and it's not all the time, but it's a phenomenon that happens a lot more when earnings are looming. This is what we talk about when volatility expands. It doesn't have to be just calls or just puts. They're just buying protection on both sides.
Yes.
So when that skew goes away, what they're saying is they're just equally weight. Yeah.
We don't know what's happening.
Yeah, because nobody knows which direction it's going.
Exactly. So a distribution with negative skew will have more potential events, or at least pricing in events. Positive skew. A distribution, more events on the positive. No, if you have negative skew, it's going to be on the tail side. Positive skew on the upside. So we have those flipped a little bit, but essentially, if your skew is to the upside, the options are pricing in that there are more events that will be on the upside of the stock price, current stock price, just based on option prices. Negative skew, like you have with SPY or Qs, is pricing in more events on the downside, or at least more risk on the downside, more velocity of movement.
Right.
So the larger the magnitude of the skew, the more the distribution is distorted in relative to normal, right? So more skew, the higher the number of skew, the wider that tail is going to be. It tells you, how wide your distribution is to whatever the skewed side is. And we're going to look at some situations here with the study that we're looking at. So we're looking at SPY from 2015 to 2026. So we've got 10, 11 years of data here.
Okay.
We're going to look at a short 16 delta SPY strangle, 45 days, managed at 21 days, and we're looking at the study here, guys.
Okay. Next slide.
The skew of the P&L distribution is really what we're going to look at here, and the largest loss for trades placed when the IVR and the IVR are the IV and the IVR are changing from 10 to 40 percent. So like we're going to break these into buckets. Basically going to tell you low vol, kind of 2 buckets of medium vol and 1 real high bucket of volatility. And then we're going to look at delta changing from 10 to 50 deltas across the curve. And so this will be kind of just a look of at the P&L specifically and how that skews during volatility, because it's going to show kind of counterintuitive that when volatility is super high, people think there's a lot of risk, and there is. It is priced in. Of
course.
But generally speaking, that risk is way more inflated than what actually happens, even if something bad happens. It's usually inflated.
Directionally bad is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm.
So as the VIX rises, the magnitude of negative skew in the P&L distribution generally becomes smaller. What we're saying here is that as volatility increases, and you can see our IV buckets here of 10 to 20. I'm sorry, we did 5 buckets. I thought we had 4. Okay. But it was less than 10, which is a small amount of occurrences. This goes back to, and our study does incorporate this, but like 2017, 2018, 2016, there were points where SPY implied volatility was 10, which is shocking. 10 to 20, 10 to 20 and 20 to 30, I would consider our more normal range. 30 to 40, you're getting into the really higher end of the range here in terms of implied volatility. And 40 plus is pretty up there. Just to put some context into it, SPY right now, 30-day implied volatility is about 27%. Or I'm sorry, March is 27%. 30-day is around 25%. So we're in the middle bucket here, which is kind of on the higher end. Most of the occurrences are going to be in the 10 to 25 range, I would say. 25 to plus would be kind of on the higher end.
Sure.
So that middle bucket, 20 to 30, is kind of like middle high, so to speak.
Yeah, middle high.
So you can see across the board, and the skew number that we're giving you here is the skew of like the P&L, right? So you're having you're getting more profitable on your mean P&L, but also your losses are tightening up. Your big losses, tail type losses when volatility gets really high, tighten up. And so the skew, you have a much tighter distribution despite volatility telling you that the distribution is going to be super, super wide. And it's because implied volatility is generally overstated to what actually happens. And you can see this across the board in the mean P&L. When volatility is super low, your large losses are much lower than what you would see when volatility is in the middle range, but it stinks trading that. You're seeing not a lot of positive trades because you're not getting paid to take that risk.
Agreed. Even the S&P is down 70 and change as oil goes up
$8,
up $8 to over 95.25.
So here we're looking at breaking this down by delta. So as delta increases from 10 to 50, the P&L distribution becomes noticeably less skewed, and skewed magnitude drops by about 57%. At the same time, the largest losses rise by 38%, and the average P&L increases by 24%. What we're looking at here is that as you get to a meteor option, when volatility is relatively high, you're obviously going to see bigger swings in both directions. This gives you kind of it shows you that the same sort of risk applies to when volatility is super high, to a 20 or 30 delta option as it does to a 10 delta option. But you're getting paid a lot more on that 20, 30, 40 delta option. What it's telling you is that when volatility expands, you should be getting a little bit more aggressive with delta as opposed to selling the 10 delta option, because your loss is basically the same across the board. The tail event is priced in to that position. So the 50 delta now, when volatility is at a 40 or 50 handle, is pricing that you can get a 30 or 40% move in the stock. And so you're getting paid that risk here. Your loss between a 20 delta option and a 50 delta option is, a couple $100, whereas your reward is double. So you're 2x the reward with the meteor option about the same loss or a similar loss as you would with a tail type option.
You explained that really well. Really good job.
So comparing to periods when IV is between 10 and 20 and trading in a 40 plus IV environment reduces skew magnitude by roughly 85%. So when you look at low volatility environments, your win percentage is going to be lower because volatility is pricing nothing in, and so therefore a lot can happen.
Yep.
When volatility is pricing a lot can happen, it's very hard to have all of those things happen. And so when volatility is high, your distributions actually tighten up, which is counterintuitive to what it feels like in the moment.
It does. It is counterintuitive.
It's hard to look at it and be
Right.
like, oh, volatility is super high. I got to lay out risk. It's the exact opposite of what anybody would ever tell you in
Yes.
normal media finance.
Yep, you're right.
So the skew and maximum loss measures are entirely different things. Skew is a shape statistic, which is looking at the distribution of the option prices. It doesn't really tell you, much about the wins and losses here, and that's kind of what we were trying to do here. So why skew falls in high IV? In high IV environments, premiums are large. That's the whole point. You're getting paid to take risk, and that risk is usually always overstated, right? Even when IV
Usually always? I don't think you can put that together.
implied volatility as a general statement is usually overstated.
Overstated, that is correct.
So even if it's 10, you could say, well, IV is usually
You're getting paid for taking the other side of the risk is what it's saying by some small multiple. And if you get a move in the direction you need, you get paid in a bigger multiple
Yes.
on entry.
So delta will influence your max losses. You're going to have a higher number for max loss when you are at a higher delta because you're closer to at the money. When volatility really, really expands, the difference, because of how much you're getting added value you're getting from those options, the difference between that 50 and 10 delta option is not that wide. Whereas when volatility is at a 10, the difference between the loss on a 50 delta versus 10 delta is going to be a lot wider.
Good.
Couple takeaways, and we'll get to the boys on the trade desk. Skew measures asymmetry, not the loss size. It shows how lopsided the P&L distribution is. It tells you where the risk is priced in. Higher IV reduces the magnitude of that skew loss. In a 40 plus IV range, skew drops by 85% compared to the 10 to 20 range. There's a lot more skew in a low volatility environment versus a high volatility. The distribution is much wider when volatility expands. Lower skew does not equal lower risk. It doesn't mean that if the skew is to the upside that you have less risk on the downside. That is not the case here. And your average losses are going to be much wider when volatility is low. Skew drops in high IV because premiums rise. That's the main key here, is that the distribution between your losses and wins actually tightens up with higher IV, higher delta. But those occurrences are rare.
They are rare.
You get them a couple times.